Today I'm having on my friend Sarah from She Holds Dearly. We are going to talk about being your own designer, the 7 layers of design, which is an approach that she takes. She teaches design over in her design school. Many of you actually found out about that in the last episode that we did together. I forget what episode that was, but I will definitely link it down below in the show notes in the description box if you want to check out the last podcast that Sarah and I did together. But we're gonna hash out some design topics, use some of her expertise, and talk about just the whole entire process of coming up with a design, creating a design board, finding all the pieces. She has a lot of great insight to share. My name is Lisa, mom of 6 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. Join me as I share with you my love for creating a handmade home from scratch cooking and a little mom and entrepreneur life along the way. So was it about a year ago that we did this? That we sat down and did
sounds
similar,
about right.
And it's funny because last time we did this podcast, I was talking about redoing my living room, and I got a few pieces between then and now, but I still feel like I want to redo some things in my living room. But I was like, Sarah, help me with my living room.
Yes. And then I think I got off the recording and had so many ideas, and I shoot you a Pinterest board with 200 pins, and you're like, okay, this is helpful.
and I still do. I have the Pinterest board. I still add to the Pinterest board all the time, but I still I don't know. I struggle to bring it all together. And then now we're moving things around. So we're moving our living room to where the dining room was so that Luke and I can move into the living room. And so I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit of a different space. It has bigger windows. And so I haven't put any curtains in there. And then I'm also thinking about adding a different paint color, but it feels like a huge commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not as big as a lot of other things, but it is a commitment.
Yeah. Well, because with my house, there's so many sight lines, I can see that room from everywhere. And so I feel like, how do you make the paint colors meld together, which I think we're going to end up talking about. So we'll talk about that. And Pinterest and how we translate the Pinterest board. So yeah.
Well, cool. I have a design school, an online design school. And one of the gals recently was we were working on her living room, and she goes, I just think this is so hard. And she asked me, she's like, is this hard for everyone or is it just me? And I was like, nope, it's hard for everyone. Even when you know stuff, it is like a wrestling match all the way to the end. And it's worth it, but you're bringing I redid a room in a nursing room in our church, and I had to look through. I knew the plan, I had the plan, I had the design boards and everything, and I still had to sort through 150,000 items and settle on 75 that all could, all were complementing each other and in different planes in the room, and the lighting had to be doing different things, and it's the huge puzzle you're putting together. So it's not just you.
Yeah. And I think too, I always want all of my spaces to look really collected together. And I don't it'd be really easy to come up with a decorated room if I just made this board, went to Pottery Barn and just got it. But that, it wouldn't have any character. And so I always have to kind of struggle along for a really long time before I get spaces how I want them. But I guess that's somewhat part of the process.
It's normal. And I did want to actually say up front that I think the DIY decorator, because that's really our topic. And I do consulting with clients now. I wasn't doing it back a year ago. But I'm kind of tired of redoing my house so much. I just want it to settle. We've been redoing it for 11 years. And I just want it to be done for a while and just enjoy it and work on other people's spaces. My creative outlet can go into their spaces. So I have started taking clients again. The ones who hire me, it's different. It's different than the girls that do it themselves. Our minds are different about it. And when I'm hired, I'm charging $150 an hour in person and $250 an hour online. And so we are all about like making every second count, and I'm moving a lot faster. But in my own space, I'll put a knob on a dresser and I'll wait for, I do, it's called the 1 week test. I will just leave it there for a week and not even think about, like, just live with it and see how it feels to like not be so hyper focused on it. Sometimes we get really hyper focused on the one thing we're trying to fix, and then we hate it. And so anyway, I just, my point is that if you are doing your own space and trying to make it look professional, you have advantages, even though it's frustrating and you feel like, oh, I don't have the money to go as fast as I want. The time that you can like indefinitely have on a space is an asset for you. And it ends up looking more like a masterpiece than if you like ordered it from Pottery Barn. So you have the time and you have the luxury of like living in the space, the submersion of it, which I don't have when I'm working on someone else's house and trying to cook in their kitchen and see the lighting in different times of the year. And so I feel like the woman who's willing to do this herself can actually come up with a better product a lot of times. So that's good news.
Well, and that's not necessarily either like what everyone needs. Like I'm thinking about my sister right now, and she would be happy with anything you created. You know, she wouldn't be like over analyzing it and like, okay, I really want to make this space feel this way. She would be fine with like, design it,
tell me what to do,
pretty, we're good, you know? And so I guess it depends on which kind of person you're talking to as well.
Yes, I do have, I just recently talked to a friend and she was like, I don't care what it looks like. I don't know what my style is. I just want you to make it look amazing and do anything you want, which is kind of fun when someone says that to me and you know they're gonna love it. Because they're so far off, like that's so far off their radar. So there is a person like that just is like, just make it awesome. I'll be back in 2 months kind of a thing.
Just make it look nice. Just make it look nice. We're good, you know.
Whatever you think. Yeah. So that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So, well, did you have questions for me or did you want me to jump into?
Well, I'm looking through like what you sent me, but yeah, you can totally dive in wherever you want to.
Okay. Well, I wanted to for sure give your listeners a peek into like the full design process. I call it the 7 layers of design. It's something that I've just developed over the last couple decades. And I teach it in my school. And I told them, I was like, the next time I teach this, I really want to figure out how to like make a 7-layer burrito with you while I teach it. But to like illustrate my point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it actually will translate correctly, but so there's 7 things that I always work through. And I notice on rooms that people call me in to look at, they're always missing layers. And that's why it doesn't feel finished. And then they know something's wrong, but they don't know why. And so they usually will have like 2 layers done, and there's 5 more that they need to think about. So
I'm probably in that category. Who knows?
You might be, I don't know, but I will like run through these, and they really build on each other. And so the order is important. And I always, when I work on any space, I will work my way through answering these 7 questions, these 7 layers. And then I'll make a design board to go with it. And then as I start to actually build these layers in real life, I'm constantly tweaking because it's never exactly right. In fact, normally the thing that I get hit the worst when I'm like trying to translate what my plan was to what it looks like, it's something to do with scale. Like I've always make a mistake on something with scale. Like, oh, I thought that was going to look bigger. That picture was going to be bigger over the fireplace. So we need to like not use that one, or we need to add sconces, or, it's like, there's always something like that. But, so anyway, the number one thing, the first thing you need to figure out are your floors, because they are the hard to change when you're done. So getting your floors figured out, and they're really expensive, and they get just beat to death. So and I know people don't want to hear that. They're like, no, we want paint colors and we want the fun stuff. But like, getting these foundational layers in first is the most important. And if I have a choice, I will always tell people to do a medium stain wood floor. It's the most classic floor you can get. So the only time I would veer from that would be like in a bathroom or a laundry room where you want to do something fun tile or something. But that's the safest bet, is your medium stained wood floor. And then, and that goes, it doesn't have to be wood. Like they have so many awesome things now, like tile looks like wood, and LVP, which stands for luxury vinyl plank, which is funny to me that they like call it luxury. Like, yeah. That's their marketing tactic.
Yeah.
So LVP, and I actually use those like in basement settings because they're worried about flooding and wood would be destroyed. So, so the LVP floors are good for that. But so then once you have your floors decided on, and I also would say rugs at that point.
Okay.
I hate shopping for rugs. Still to this day, I hate shopping for rugs. They're heavy, they're expensive, they don't look like the pictures online. And once you get your rugs found, you have just crossed it. You've like made it through a big hurdle. And here's a little tip on rugs. If you're buying new, and they don't offer samples, I would order the smallest rug that is available. So like the doormat size, so 2 foot by 3 foot, and that's your sample, because it's so much easier to return that than some 8 by 10 thing that you can't even lift. And and it's it's $100 to return those rugs. You're just wasting money.
Yeah. Yep. I've bought huge rugs that I've returned, and I think they were free shipping back. Maybe not. Maybe they weren't, but they were a hassle, because obviously I unrolled these massive wool rugs and then I rolled them back up and had to package them back up and take them in. But I find that like if you're buying something with a pattern, like a vintage pattern, like a medallion, I like it in the picture online, but then whenever it's blown up into like 11 by 14, I don't like the pattern anymore. Like all the parts of it are really huge. And then I'm like, oh wait, nope, I don't like that.
I know, me too. It's very, very hard. I think patterns are the hardest.
Yeah.
Because of that, because they're so small. And I usually do buy my rugs online. I mean, I'll check World Market, I'll check Costco, Target, maybe Home Goods. There's just slim pickings.
Yeah.
So online is really what you have to do.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah. So once you get your rug done, like to me, that's the hardest part of the rug. So so then the second layer is your furniture. So your big pieces of furniture. So that's when you're going to decide on your couch, your rug, your dining room table. Like the big rocks are getting put in place, and then everything starts to fall into place around those. But I don't know if you use the Ballard Designs room planner, but
never heard of that.
I recommend it a lot, and I wish that it was easier to find on their website. I think that it's such a great tool, and it's buried. Like you have to scroll to the bottom of the page and it says room planner, and it's just like down in the little details at the bottom of the page. But that will allow you, it's free, and it allows you to like do a floor plan. So how big is your room? How big is your couch? And you can move it around and stuff. And I love that. So,
Can you bring in like picture elements? Like you can bring in uh the rug that you're looking at and stretch it out and put stuff on it, or mostly just like
no, you
layout?
can't do that. I would recommend Canva for that.
Oh, I never thought about
Uh,
using Canva.
that's where I do my design boards in,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's a free. Um, I know you and I use it for work, but
Yes.
it's got a free um off, or what do you like? You can do your own design boards for, you don't have to buy the business one. But this is
Okay.
another thing that I recently found. Vern Yip has this book called Design Wise, and he's a well-known designer. I've never seen a design book like this that is it's basically an encyclopedia on measurements. So how tall should your coffee table be, and how far should your chandelier be above your dining room table. And I mean, it's like 300 pages, so some of it feels like overkill, but there are concepts in it that are helpful. So maybe you don't need to know that it should be 17 inches from the side of the bed or whatever, but you understand that, oh, my nightstand needs to be I need to comfortably be able to turn on a light and set a glass of water down as I'm laying in my bed. Like, those kinds of concepts are in there. And so I think if you're doing a new build, or you're gonna like charge for your services or whatever, I would have this on your bookshelf, this Design
Okay,
Wise
yeah.
by Vern.
Yeah, I could see with a new build, like all of those
Oh my
little
gosh.
details, you have
Oh,
the
people
opportunity to
want to
get them
cry.
right. And,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like in an old house, you don't. And so it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're undoing other people's things. But um yeah. So number 3 then is your walls. And this is usually where people start. And I think it's a mistake because of the rug, because it's so hard to find a rug and it's so easy to find paint. Your colors are indefinite because you can make
Yeah.
a custom color and you can pull it straight out of your rug if you need. So I do the walls as a 3rd step. And then the 4th step is textiles. So, and actually, I kind of like to do the paint color and the textiles together just in case there's a conflict. But your textiles are all the like feminine parts, right? So the softening of the room. So your drapes, maybe more rugs, bedding, towels, those kinds of things come in. And then
Pillows.
yeah, yeah. So once you're done with that, you definitely have your paint color at that point. I mean, you have like maybe 4 options of paint colors at that point, which is nice to have that
Mm-hmm.
figured out, narrowed down like that. And then I love to get my paint samples from a website called Samplize. So Samplize. And you just tell them what color you want, and they have Benjamin Moore colors, Sherwin-Williams, I think P&G, and Farrow and Ball, so the top 4 companies. And I think they're $5 a piece, but it's worth it. And then you get these big stickers that are
Oh,
actually like paint. It's not like ink, it's painted, and you can stick them on your walls, and they're nice and big. So, and the text, like they have texture on them, and anyway,
huh.
so you can
I
get the
never
right
even,
sheen.
I'm always too much in a hurry. Like once I make a decision, it's like, we're going to do this today, So I need to like, you would save a lot of time though if you really planned ahead and then didn't regret doing like spending an entire weekend painting something if you followed this step.
Yeah. And then I just love that, usually it takes like 4 good choices, and you order the samples, and then it's a done deal. It's going to look good. So I like the security of that.
Yeah.
So that brings us to number 5, which is lighting. And lighting is one of my favorite steps because I feel like it's magical. It takes the room from being real flat, and it just warms things up. It makes these little cozy pockets for people to like sit and read. And so I love that step. Like once I get to lighting, it's like you're on the freeway at that point to be to the fun stuff. So then number 6 is vertical decor. So that's your it's your wall decorations. So artwork and um, whatever you're gonna do to fill your walls. And you might even decide to double back and go, we need a little bit more millwork, even though we need some crown molding in here. So then number 7, the last one, that's the horizontal decorations. And whenever I walk into a place and there's like excessive horizontal decorating going on, I know they're frustrated. And because that's the thing that everybody tries to do when they're decorating is number 7. It's the last step. And it's the easiest, and it's like that's the stuff you get at garage sales. Like
Is it stuff you just put in there like a random ottoman, or like what exactly does it mean? Like side tables? Or I guess that's furniture.
I would do I would add in accent tables at that point to like fill out a corner a little bit or something, or an ottoman. But I'm thinking more like the knickknack type stuff, like books, or like stuff you would get at, like people do a lot with Hobby Lobby stuff, like little containers, and then just group it together with flowers and candles and
baskets,
clocks, and baskets and things. And I feel like when people are overdoing that and they're putting like 12 things on their mantle or something, I know that they want it to look finished, and they don't understand that there's the other 6 things we have to look at and probably edit number 7.
Yeah, right. Get rid of some of that. I actually heard on a podcast once that if you pull everything out of the room, so like all of the rug, the couches, and the room still looks really pretty, like with whatever you've done, then that's like a good place to start. And I never thought about that. In a lot of my rooms, if I pulled everything, all the furniture out, like all the horizontal stuff, it would just be like a white box.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, Alyssa from Cottonwood Shanty.
Uh-huh.
Do you follow her? I interviewed her for our class one time, and that was her thing. We were talking about walls. Mm-hmm. And she said that she doesn't even think about furniture and stuff. She says she wants to figure out like the architecture of the room and why the room alone is so elegant and beautiful, and what does it need with the doors and like the crowd, the molding. Like, and I know your house is really awesome like that. Like it has really high ceilings and
yeah, it has a lot of moldings and things like that. I sometimes think I could do more. Like in my bathroom, we just did some beadboard and we painted that a different color. Then we added more moldings around the windows. And I'm like, that's probably the first room where if I pulled out like the decor, it would still be a really beautiful room. But, and then maybe like in the living room where we added the fireplace, that would be an example of something like that. But that would be our bedroom. So in our current new living room, all we'll have is furniture. So I can't decide like if I want to add some kind of board and batten, or I just don't even know, some color, some of those elements that makes the room itself elegant.
Yeah. And then you have this fantastic backdrop.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, you probably could think like if we sold the house and people just walked into the empty house, what would they fall in love with? Like the fireplace in the bedroom, like that kind of stuff.
I understand like the 7 layers, and I guess that's the order that you do them in. My thing that happens to me, I don't know if you have any tips for this, is I always get hung up with like making decisions that you're going to regret. I think that's what people probably do more than anything else. Like, okay, choose the furniture, check. Well, then what if like I get to step 5 and I realize that I went with a whole different vibe than the furniture that I purchased
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's another really common design problem is people cherry pick and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I love this couch. I've always wanted this couch. So they get the couch. But like, what about the other 75 things? Like, do you
Yeah.
like those things too that are going to go with that? And so I do not like the cherry picking type of design. I think it just makes a mess of things. So once you kind of, and I understand there's inspiration pieces, like maybe you really do love the couch, but how does that affect the rug and the end tables and the metals you're going to use in the room? And so that's where I create design boards on Canva. And I have a video on how to make these. So I actually will give you we'll put the link below this.
Okay. Is it on your YouTube channel?
It is. But yeah, I'll make sure you get the right link for it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember if it's which video I wanted you to use on there. I can't remember if that one's on YouTube.
Well, it'll be linked in the show notes or the description box, depending on if people are listening on YouTube or their podcast player.
Yeah. So it's like a 10-minute video. It shows you how to take pictures on, and I love that we can do this stuff online. So like if your couch is from Target, you right click on the couch, you drag that couch onto your board. Like I try to make it as real as possible. I'll even photograph something in my room, like something vintage that I don't have a picture of online, and I'll upload it. And Canva has a background remover, which I show in the video. And I think you do have to. I think you do have to pay for that, though.
Yeah, I think you do to have the background, but you could probably get a free trial, like if you want to do this and then just cancel it.
I think they give you a 1-month free trial, and so you could create all your design boards,
right?
And you use it, like make it as real can be. And I'll do 4 boards, and it's for the 4 walls in the room, assuming there's 4 walls in the room, and you just piece it together and you look at that. And I do not want to start ordering until I feel good about those boards.
Okay, so you plan all 7 layers before you start ordering things. And so you probably go through the 7 layers in the design board. Like first you do your floors, then you do your, you know, paint.
And it's just so much easier to go, oh, do I want a green lamp on that table, or do I want, a white lamp? And you literally take the picture and put it on there, and you don't have to go buy the lamp and then go return it. Like, it's so amazing to be doing decorating with all the technology that we have now. And so, for you with that room, I would build your boards and actually put the real live items that you want to use and narrow down. And then you feel like you've got it and it's pretty good. But then as things come in, when you start ordering, which is really fun. And as things come in, I always have to answer like 3 questions. Like, is it the size that I thought it was? Or is this lamp like this big? And I thought it was this big. So I'll ship things back if the size is wrong, if the quality is wrong. Sometimes it just looks like garbage. And I'm all for DIY and trying to do things yourself, but I am not for things that look like they were DIY'd.
Yeah.
I want it to look like you spent money.
Yeah.
So don't keep it if it looks cheap. And like if it's a basket or something that just looks like it's gonna fall apart or the picture wasn't accurate. And then the color. A lot of times the color is a little off on the computer and it's too yellow, so now it looks dirty next to how white the sheets are, and so those are the 3 things that can get you when you go to actually put this together in real life. And you just like turn it and you try again. You keep committed to how nice it looks on those boards.
And you could too, like if you're a person like me and you're this way too. A lot of the items you're going to go find vintage and thrifted and antique because, they have more character. And so you could put in like a inspiration lamp, and then it's your mission over the next several months or whatever to find that lamp, even if it's not,
it has this shape or whatever,
Yeah. And it's tricky because that's where I find it difficult for rooms to come together, and they do eventually. But whenever you are trying to, collect it and not just like go order it all, it's sometimes takes a long time. And then sometimes you don't find the exact thing that was in your design board, but you could definitely find something that's very similar, to what you originally
and I'll
thought.
be at a garage sale even, and I'll flip on my design board because I'll see something and I'll like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I will upload it to the design board and look at it in the room before I buy it.
Oh.
Like it's that helpful.
You do that on your
and then
phone?
you're like,
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
it
cool.
can help you when you're out shopping to actually look at it in the room, especially like thrifting, which I love thrifting, but the downside to it is you can't return it. You're just gonna like give it back to Goodwill or try to sell it.
Which is a hassle in itself. I actually stopped yesterday for a massive ottoman because I want to do one of those slip covered ottomans.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is this just going to sit it was free. It was on the, it said free and it was nice. And so I threw it in the van and I'm like, okay, if I don't do something with this, yes, it was free, but I have to figure out what to do with it again. Where's it going to go? So
it might not be that fun. It might be a pain.
I'm sure. No, I'm positive it won't be that fun. I know how that stuff goes. I just can't when I'm like, ooh, it's free. I could make that something. And I know I could, but
another thing I'll do if it's something like that that's free, I'm like, if I liked it and I took it for free, then I could just turn around and like, I could sell it for $25 or something. Like make sure that if you're gambling on this by letting it come into your life, that it actually like it's cheap enough that someone else would easily take it for the same price or a little more. Like
true. Yeah.
You could easily say free and have it gone in a day.
Yeah. But like you said, though, with like antique shops, I have definitely bought my fair share of pieces that were not ridiculously cheap. And then I realized later that it wasn't the right thing for the space. And they're not, you're just not going to be able to get anything back for that. They are, but in some ways you almost have to, because some of my best pieces I wouldn't have if I was too scared of that happening. Probably like all of my best pieces in my house. So it's kind of tricky. I don't know. It's hard to weigh out. And then,
Yeah, I think that Canva solution on your phone would really help. Like, does this buffet table work? And you literally take a photograph of it, remove the background, and put it on that wall on the Canva board. And that I would feel better if I was spending $400 or something,
Right. I know. 'Cause sometimes like, I think this is the perfect piece, but like if it's not, you're not going to be able to get $400 again for it on Facebook Marketplace. You're just not. You're going to have to give it away. Not give it away, but like get it really cheap price. At least where I live, that's the case. Like if I find something I love at an antique shop and then it doesn't work, you need to have an antique shop to sell it for that price again. Like you could just sell it again. I'm like, yeah, you can, but
not for that
really
price.
you
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't.
I know.
I can't find the buyers for it.
Before I go, I do want to give you a couple of my favorite design sources for inspiration.
Okay.
So I've recently started listening to the Ballard Designs podcast.
Oh, I didn't know they had a podcast.
And it's the same thing as the room planner. It's like scroll down to the very bottom. Like it's such a great podcast. And they have like big names on, like world renowned designers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just at the bottom and it says the podcast. There's like, they don't show it off at all. But I don't know, there's probably close to like 300 episodes at this point.
Wow,
And
you think they'd be more like, getting it out there from how many hours they've spent doing that.
And the people they bring on, like they are big names. And so it's, yeah, I don't know why they don't push it harder.
They probably promote it on their Instagram or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I should check that. But so I like to do podcasts when I'm out gardening and my goal is to go out and work in the yard once a day for an hour.
Right.
And listen to one podcast. So it's like this kind of my decompressed time about like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I just really I recommend it. It has really grown me in just my ideas. And actually it was because of that podcast that I started thinking, you know what, I don't want to just I know I'm a blogger and a YouTuber and all this, but I kind of am sick of having my house always torn up. Like every 3 months, redecorating for the seasons. And I don't mind a few pockets of that, but the whole house thing is like, I kind of want my own space to calm down. And that came from that's how really, really wealthy people decorate. Like they buy these, I mean, they'll do like $17 million renovations on their home because they bought this old cool house, and I mean, like we're almost talking like royalty, these people.
Yeah.
And they do their house once and they do it really well and really classic, and that's the house. And it doesn't get redone until someone else buys it. And I am not really in that world.
No.
Of like millions and millions of dollars of work. Like the people I work for, they don't do it either. But just that concept of do it well, do it classic, and then just enjoy that place.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, so that podcast I recommend. And I just started at the beginning. I went back to podcast number 1, like of all of them, and just am working my way through them. And then from those podcasts, a lot of these designers have written these like really thick design books, and I just get them at the library. I don't pay $50 for each book, but I just love to look through them. And then even though most of them, their style is not my style. I'm very traditional European, and I still glean something from them. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I started to really love pinch pleat curtains by looking at Bunny Williams books, even though the rooms I probably won't be copying, but there's just, and then they deal with really huge spaces, like living rooms that seat 25 people. And, and so they have these huge parties and stuff. Wow. So I study the layouts, especially of living rooms. Like, how did they make, like, do they put 2 couches back to back in the center?
Right.
And then made these little, like, little cozy seating areas around the mantle. Like, I really get a lot out of layouts from these books. So, my favorite one right now is by Nora Murphy, and it's called Country House Style. And
that sounds like my kind of book.
So yummy. Like you would love it too.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's just Nora Murphy. So yeah, if you can get that at the library, I get a lot of ideas out of that. I also have my favorite design blogs. I have like 10 of them, and I'm so overwhelmed with email, as I'm sure you are. I get so much spam. Like 100 things a day of spam, and I like always fighting it, trying to like put in the junk mail, but still, like I'm to the point where I don't receive a lot of blog emails,
yeah,
newsletters, yeah. And so what I do is every Saturday I sit down and for an hour, I like go through these 10 blogs that I love, just check on what they're doing. A lot of times they haven't posted anything, but like I love Jenna Sue's
Okay.
blog.
Yeah.
I
I've
always
read
look at
hers.
Andrea's to see what
Uh-huh.
Pine and Prospect, what she's up to. And yeah, so get a list of bloggers that it's kind of your treat every week to just see what they've been up to. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, and then the last one is Pinterest, which is my very favorite.
Oh, that's right. Yes. You were going to talk up a little bit about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
I still love Pinterest.
Pinterest is the very, very best. I like before Pinterest, I would have people that I was working on their spaces, I would have them tear out magazine pictures, and I did it too. That's intense. So now we have Pinterest, and I like to get 100, at least 100, maybe even 200 pens if I'm working on a room. And from there, I can scroll through. It really lets me into someone's mind. So if you're doing a bathroom, you just pick a bunch of pens that you love. And then if I can look in that, I understand better. Like a lot of times people think they know what they want because they've wanted it for a long time, but it was kind of trendy. And now it's not probably the best thing for them because trends last for 10 years. And if you've liked it for 8 years, don't do your bathroom like that.
It's
like,
on the tail end of it.
And you will feel dorky soon. So, and I've made these mistakes myself in my kitchen with my countertops.
Oh yeah, we had our design regrets video on YouTube that we all talked about our kitchens.
Yes. So, if you find it on Pinterest and it sparks joy for you now today, it's probably going to be a good direction to go in. And like I've had people say, I want a leather couch, which I know you did this. You got your leather couch.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking through their boards and there's no leather couches in 200 pictures. There are white slipcover couches.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so then I'm like, so I know you say that, but this is what your heart is actually saying. And I'm going to trust, I always go with the design. I always go with the Pinterest boards or the Pinterest, the pen.
You're
That's
right though, because the same images, same like style still draws me in that drew me in like 10 years ago. And I've definitely deviated with some trends, but I'm always going back to the same type of style over and over again. So it seems like I have like some preferences.
That's not necessarily wrong because you and I love the old stuff.
Uh-huh.
We always will. But even within that, there'll be a little bit of, there's some trending that goes up and down with, like modern farmhouse.
Yes, but and that's what I was actually thinking of is I've always loved like anytime I see like images where things are like things out on peg racks and aprons and cutting boards, I'm always just like, oh, I love that. But then like for a while I deviated with like modern farmhouse and like, bleh, I don't like any of it anymore, like at all.
Yes. Yes. So I think it's fine to recognize, well, there's three main, I'm like getting off topic a little bit here, but there's three main categories for interior design. There's traditional, which is all the stuff you and I love, that's what I'm into. The traditional, and we will always probably be traditional. And I've always been since I was like 12 when I was into like the country kitchen type stuff with the gooses.
Same. I liked this stuff when I was like 12 too.
Yep. And then it got into like shabby chic and
I loved that.
The Tuscany look. And so I can see people like committing for life to that kind of stuff. And then, but then within that, it keeps altering every 10 years a little bit. So you got to keep an eye out what you invest in. But then so old world traditional stuff. And then it goes into transitional, So that's when you get the mid-century modern
Yep.
and the boho, like the 70s, 60s, 70s and stuff. And I love that for certain people. Like I love doing mid-century modern for a male space, like super clean lines but still looks real sophisticated. And then it goes into contemporary. So transitional is like half contemporary, half traditional. And so I dabble in transitional, especially for clients, and I do not like contemporary. I just don't
I
do
have
it.
some images in my head of what contemporary is, and I know some people love it, but no, I despise it. And that happens like a little bit like with the minimal style.
Cool.
Like I kind of like veer into that. I'm like, wait a minute, nope. I don't like anything that's that modern.
No warmth, no character, no story. Yeah, just lots of metal and like odd shapes. They, like very like kind of
I
organic,
have an image in my
super
mind.
modern. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do think people will fall into one of those three camps pretty hard and stay a long time.
Yeah.
And then,
Whether, even though they switch a little bit within them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Pinterest pins help you narrow down within that category, like what you want in that room. But I have a mini course. It's a $10 mini course. People love these things. And I've got more ideas of ones I want to do for people. But it's a 3-day course. It's coming up at the end of September, but I'm just now
okay. So it's actually live.
It's live. I go live on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
At 2 p.m. And it's a Zoom call. So you get it emailed to you, and I do an hour class, and I show you how to find your pins, and then how to read them, how to understand them, and then like where to go buy the stuff and I think I get into the Canva boards a little bit at the end of that, the very last day. But I want to give you the link for that too, if your listeners want to come to the mini course.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of short link you can share verbally, or we'll just link it down in the show notes in the description box?
I don't.
Too.
So yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it'll be down in the description box and the show notes if anybody wants to sign up and take your Pinterest course, because I do love your Pinterest tips. I've been using Pinterest to collect my thoughts together forever. And I feel like that is like the number one place where you can decide like which style you actually are wanting to go for.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of those pictures you can take straight into your Canva board. Like they're just awesome. It was so much harder before we had Pinterest. So
yes. Yeah, it was. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, any other questions or?
Oh man, I'm sure we could talk about this for like 5 hours if I had the Zoom capacity to do it, honestly.
As I was kind of mapping out my notes for this today, I was like, ooh, Lisa and I need to get back on again and talk about trends and classics.
Ooh, that's
and how fun. To know which ones to invest in and which ones to steer away from, and how to enjoy them. That's always
my biggest thing is when you're on a limited budget, which everybody's on a limited budget to some extent, deciding on something big is just like the hard part. I think it's what keeps us just kind of like thinking about doing something rather than doing it, committing. And so, that kind of discussion would be really useful.
Yeah. So we'll have to do something in the future. That'd be fun.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.